Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI. We supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continued DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the Black church, how we deal with Black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass Black march, Black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all no King's marches and all. But the Black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, Black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this approval. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C., we do two cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York to pay for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attended convention last year in 2025. It needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you. We need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused. Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades. It's Wednesday, February 25th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to our listeners on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from the National Action Network corporate offices in New York. And for the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation and be heard nationwide. And you can participate. You can call in at 1-877-532-5797, or you can go on our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And already the message board loading up. I see, is this Martise Shiz? I can't figure out I think Greater Memphis, okay. It says, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. I heard Trump say he eliminated DEI and the Republicans applauded. It felt like the Barry Goldwater moment in 1964 attacked the Civil Rights Act. And Martise, you are exactly right. It was the same moment, the same kind of content, same attitude, same contempt for our right and our rights. I see Jeffrey Gerard saying, "Good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton. Did you watch the clown show last night? The star of the show, Donald Trump. That's just what it was." And I could not agree with you more, Jeffrey. Uh, Barbara Ward is saying, Reverend Al Sharpton, how are you? Happy Wednesday from Dallas, Texas, Good Street Baptist Church. Much love. All right, Dallas. Glad to have you with us. And the mayor, Rodney Jones, Mr. Mayor Rodney Jones of Queensbridge Houses in New York, says NYCHA must have hired some temp workers to clear the walkways here in Queensbridge. I was looking out my window and seeing people shoveling snow, but didn't have NYCHA uniforms on. I don't know what that's all about, Mr. Mayor. You the mayor out there. Go check it out. Let me say this. I watched some of what Donald Trump had to say, but I have a thing where I have an allergy. I'm allergic to lies. And so before I came down with something, I turned it off, and I saw some of it this morning. Now, I want to help y'all out that you have the facts. CBS, I'm not even going to go to MS now. CBS did a fact check on Trump's 2026 State of the Union address. And it highlighted his record on the economy, on immigration, tariffs, and also assessed the claims by the Democratic responder, which was Governor Abigail Spanberger. Now, here are some of the claims and what CBS rated. Trump claims murder rate saw its largest decline in recorded history last year. Quote, last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number. Preliminary data, facts, from independent researchers suggest the homicides may have hit a 125-year low last year, although the FBI's official annual crime report in 2025 was not released until later this year. A preliminary January study by Council of Criminal Justice, CCJ, found a strong possibility that the 2025 homicide rate will drop to about 4%. That homicide rate has been declining since 2022. According to the annual FBI report, the CCJ report also noted the reasons for last year's decline are not clear, but it was already declining. He inherited a decline in murder rates. So he claims that, secondly, that in the last 9 months, no illegal immigrants have been admitted into the country, and the fact check on that is likely referring to the number of migrants released by Border Patrol after crossing the U.S. border. Over the past 9 months, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has reported 0 releases of migrants. That's not necessarily meaning that every single migrant who has entered the U.S. illegally since Trump took office has been deported. Doesn't mean that at all. Very misleading. It's going to CBS now. Trump claims more Americans are working today than any time in U.S. history. Preliminary data, facts, fact check. Preliminary data from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics show there are roughly 158.6 million people employed in the United States as of January 26, which is more than at any other point on record, but the total number of employed people usually rises as the population grows. About 157 million people were employed when President Biden left office And because population increase, economists feel the increase is natural. There has been no foreseeable growth in terms of employment based on the Trump administration. False or not, Trump claims he secured $18 trillion in new investments in the U.S. And, quote, he said, in 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investments. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I've secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from over the world. Answer, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, new foreign direct investment over Biden's 4 years in office did up less than $1 billion, but CBS News Review found no evidence the total of commitments by Trump is anywhere near $18 trillion. And it goes on and on. The lies that was told. Unemployment among blacks is still almost double that of whites. He bragged, took absolute pleasure in telling us that he's put an end to DEI. Now, I'm not talking out of school. I've been on this since he got in office. We had to march on Wall Street around DEI. We've been marching for over a year on the proponent on DEI. I hope all of you out there that thought DEI was something I was exaggerating heard him say, and we ended DEI. And, of course, he chastised the Supreme Court members there for their ruling against him on tariffs. He also took issue and said that they must have the SAVE Act, which is an affront and direct attack on ending the voting rights bill. They will allow the redrawing of districts. You must remember, the Voting Rights Act of 65, which had to be recommitted and going forward every 5 years, and we were able to do that, kept the pressure on. Now the Supreme Court is sitting there after weakening sections 4 and 5 on whether they will eliminate 2, which takes race out. The objective of the Voting Rights Act was that you could not gerrymander districts to dilute the strength of black voters. And I think that the question is that if they can dilute that, they're saying, well, we're breaking down the Democrats. They're also breaking down black voters. So they split black districts in half. That's why, for example, in Houston, you may have Al Green, who stood up last night with the sign saying blacks are not apes, having to run against who was formerly Sheila Jackson Lee's district, the late, great Sheila Jackson Lee. This will reduce the number of blacks in the Congress. This will reduce blacks in the State House. This is what the Voting Rights Act was there to protect us against. I think that it is absolutely unthinkable that we're sitting down acting like this is normal time. I'm gonna open up the phones. Let's talk about it. State of the Union. What about the state of the race? Where are we? Where are you? And what we gonna do? 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that
You didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
A young man who refers to the Reverend Jesse Jackson as his mentor, but who has been the mentor to so many people, a man who himself ran for President of the United States and who on a regular basis on MSNBC stands up for economic and social and racial justice, for saving the environment and for peace on this planet. Please welcome the remarkable Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Some of the ministers, even though I was a young minister, seemed like they were not connected to what was going on in the urban North. Jesse Jackson came from the South, but organized in Chicago and knew how to organize in urban centers. There would not have been a continuation of that movement had Jesse Jackson not bridged that gap and started fighting for collective economics at that time. Way before we started talking about corporate accountability, he was boycotting Fortune 500 companies, dealing with the economic policy, dealing with the exploitation of the poor. He became a national figure holding corporate America accountable. What people are doing now was started by Jesse Louis Jackson. But directly as they start the Democratic convention on tomorrow, let me just talk about his historic reshaping of the party. In 1983, he started saying a black should run for president. There was in 1972 the Gary, Indiana Convention, National Black Political Convention. There was the fights between the black nationalists and those that were in elective office. Reverend tried to bridge that. It led all the way to 83. He went around the country trying to get certain blacks to run. In the middle of him doing that, he started a Southern voting crusade. As he was on the bus going through Mississippi, through Louisiana, registering voters, people started saying, "You should run, Jesse." And we started to chant, "Run, Jesse, run." Most of the black elected officials didn't see it. He ran anyway. And he ran and won many of those primaries, and he put us on the agenda saying our time has come. But he did something that shifted the party and shifted history. And that is when he ran in '88. Not only did he win more delegates and win more states, he changed the rules of the party. This is what I come to say tonight. When Jesse Jackson from the '88 campaign changed the party from winner take all to proportional representation, let's not forget, before '88, if you got one vote more than your opponent in a primary, you got all of the delegates. Jesse Jackson changed the rules to where it didn't matter if you got more or not, you still got your share of delegates based on the vote you got. You cannot have a Democratic Party without democracy. There is no winner take all in democracy. By changing the rules in '88, we also got the first black chairman of the party, Ron Brown, who was a campaign manager for Jesse Jackson. He put blacks on the rules committee that kept those rules in place. So in '08, if there had not been proportional voting in the primaries, Hillary Clinton would have been the nominee. The reason Barack Obama could win the primaries and win the nomination is because the Rules Committee went on the Jackson proportional voting rules. As we come into 24, when Joe Biden decided not to run, and there were those that said, let's have an open convention. There were people on the Rules Committee, when Joe Manchin said he was thinking about running, they said, well, no, you can't run, because the rules won't let you run. Those people on the Rules Committee were put there by Jesse Lewis Jackson. The reason Kamala Harris is going to be nominated starts right in this building, starts right with this man. It has been a long journey, but the one that brought us this far was Jesse Lewis Jackson. It's a remarkable career to be born in the Deep South, in the back of the bus, and to grow into being a world figure that literally changed the political structures as we knew it. Put two of his sons in Congress. Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., who's a constitutional scholar. Jonathan Jackson now reshaped the civil rights movement. What we're doing now with civil rights organizations, we learned at his feet. Let me end by saying there's some people that say that it's sad Reverend Jackson from Parkinson's can't walk like he used to and talk like he used to. But I want you to know that every time a black opens their mouth and talk about democracy, Jesse Jackson is talking. Every time we march, Jesse Jackson is walking. And when you see Kamala Harris get on that stage this week, Jesse Jackson is on that stage. He's sitting there watching the results of his work. There wouldn't be no us if it wasn't for him. Thank you and God bless you.
Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the nature thrust of your life.
I am your
others, they
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And or you can go to our message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. Let me make the announcements so we can really open up these phones and really spend these 3 hours with content. Let me say this. All of you that just want to vent or get some grievance with somebody off, this is not the day. Because this man laid out
last night, this man being Donald Trump, he drew a line in the sand. And we need to really respond with some content to wake people up, because he threw the shade down last night. And he, in many ways, called our bluff. I'm not backing up on anything. I'm not backing up on DEI. I'm not backing up on deportation. I'm not backing up on voting rights. What y'all gonna do about it? That's basically what he said. So a lot of days I entertain conspiracy theories, and I don't like this guy, that guy, they phonies, and that's good, but not today. I want to deal with how you received the threatening State of the Union address last night and what we need to do about it. Because us not liking each other, our not chasing whatever rumor we chase is not going to get us out of this. And we're in this. Let me be real clear. This was not just some nut ranting and raving last night. This is the President of the United States that has the power of government in his hand. We need to take this seriously. If we had taken it seriously in 24 like we asked people to, we wouldn't be in this condition. But we are here now. And we cannot play our way out of this. We got to really work and organize our way out of this. 1-877-532-5797. Don't forget, if there ever was a week you should watch Politics Nation, is this week. I'm going to have some of the governors on, some that's talking about running for president. I want them to analyze not only the speech, but what they're going to do to save us from this in their state. Some of the senators on, how they're going to block this in the Senate. You don't want to miss this weekend, Saturday night and Sunday night, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live on MS Now. The Saturday Action Rally, we need to be as full as we were last week at the Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7, 9 to 11. And you that are not in New York can watch it live on Impact Television or on YouTube/NAN or NationalActionNetwork.net. And our media team was telling us we had about 146,000 people collectively between the YouTube and between the Facebook site of NAN, of my Facebook site, Reverend Al Sharpton, and Instagram, 146,000, not including Impact Television, not including the radio stations that cover it. So people are tuning in. We need to turn them out. National Action Network Convention, I got to really tell you, I've not released the list yet, other than I've said, I think I've said that most of the guys and ladies talking about running for president have already confirmed they're coming to speak. And I did say Don Lemon will be there, but I'm going to release the whole list in a matter of days. We are well over 4,500 people registered. I'm putting the ceiling at 5,000 because I'm going to save several thousand seats for the young students we're bringing in from our tour of HBCUs and from our chapters around the country like Martinis in Memphis. So make sure if you have not signed up, do so right now at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. If last night, with this man in your face telling you what he did, does not make you committed that I better go to convention and see how we can all unite, come together, and come out with a plan on how we going to deal with the midterm elections, how we going to deal with things on the ground in our community, then nothing will wake you up. I don't care what you thought about April 8th through the 11th.
You need to change your mind and get to this convention so you're part of hearing what we need to do and participating in the long-range plan. Because it's serious. It's affecting all of us. Man, it's up there and tell you the price of eggs is down and you buying eggs every other day and no better than that. What he's saying to you is that you are so dumb and inactive that I can tell you anything, you ain't gonna do nothing about it. You don't do but complain to your family. You are not gonna register, you're not gonna vote, you're not gonna march, you're not gonna do nothing. And why does he think that? Because most of us didn't do anything. I don't blame him for getting away with what we let him get away with. I blame us for continuing to let him get away with it. So you need to organize. You need to be at the convention. It's free. You have no reason to say, well, you know, it's too expensive. You get to New York and where you staying, and we will take care of everything in terms of your participating in workshops or planning sessions. It's free. You take care of your expense, we'll take care of the convention. Most conventions charge a registration fee. We do not do that. But we want to come out of there with real plans and an active agenda. We came out last year talking about DEI. We've been all over the DEI folks. We had the March on Wall Street, thousands, and Evangelist Ramsey, one of the best activists in the country, says we are back at DEI Thursday, which is 787 11th Avenue, 12 noon. That is the officers of Ackman, who's the orchestrator of ending DEI. And we got to keep coming. We've got to keep pressuring on DEI. It is costing contracts and jobs. And Trump bragged about it in our face last night. End the DEI. And don't forget now, DEI affects not only blacks, but certainly blacks. It affects Latinos, Asians, affects women, gays, and the handicapped. So let's be real clear. Well, Ramal, I don't understand what DEI really means. Good. Let me explain it to you. DEI means that private sector companies, government agencies, have to have a goal to show that they are not having only people of one race or one gender is on their board of directors, getting the contracts and getting the jobs. If you are in a city or county that is diverse, then your board and your doing business with contractors and your job employment ought to reflect the county and city you in. Or you should not be, one, receiving money. You should not have consumers from a diverse base, since you don't believe in diversity. And you should not be able to get county, federal contracts. And people say, well, if I got a business, I have the right to run it the way I want. You do. I absolutely agree with you. You have the right to do what you want, but not with our money. If we all gonna pay taxes, we all gonna make sure we have the same access to contracts, board seats, and jobs. That's all we're saying. And we need DI to monitor whether you're being fair. All right, let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797. Or go to the live stream and send a message over my live stream. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keep it real. Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters, our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades.
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, National Action Network. He just came in here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice, so I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Rev, you know, you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that
Yep.
was going on in Brooklyn at that time, at Howard Beach. You were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, and I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene with yourself,
Yep.
Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question.
Yep.
What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair back.
And you had the head on.
Yeah, it was
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut. So we went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm gonna keep marching, I'm gonna keep agitating, and I'm gonna keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie known you a long time, Mariah, Chris and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. faces have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. Let's go to the phones. Let's start in New Jersey. Cooper, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Reverend Al, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Rev, I hope everybody tuned in to Politics Nation this past weekend. The insight, everything was so good. I just hope they tuned in. You always bring in the facts with Politics Nation, and people need to be tuning in and watching it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But, Rev, after last night's State of the Union and the many dishonest claims that Trump spoke about, I hope people are waking up and, like you said, getting together and getting ready to get out and vote this year and stand up to the dishonest claims that the president said. But my main question today, Rev, is I wanted to know how you feel about Trump's possibly signing an executive order that would require banks to see if their clientele are undocumented or not. And do you think that would violate those clients' civil rights?
I think it does violate. It's a very good question. I think it violates their civil rights. And I think that if he signed such an executive order, first of all, the executive order can only pertain to federal domain. He will argue that because it's under the FDIC, that is his domain. That could be challenged in court. Secondly, he can be challenged that he's interfering with trade and currency. And third, he can be challenged that people in the banking industry can say that for us to do an investigation on every one of our depositors, we require a certain amount of new employment, new departments toward that, and is the federal government therefore going to be charged with having to give the banks more money? All of that would have to be litigated, and by the time it would be litigated, Cooper, I think he'll be out of office. So I think he may answer and do that bluff, but I think the banks would come back and have to respond in kind. But thank you for your call. Very good question, though, by the way. Brenda Taylor Smith is on our message board. Says, California Nan interested in starting a group to attend the convention. I have a timeshare. Looking forward to plan to go. Women, let's attend the conference. I love that. Come on, Brenda. Make sure that you register. Come on in, make the workshops, and I'm all over the convention. Make sure you tell me I'm Brenda from California. I love that. In fact, our Sacramento chapters bringing people, our Los Angeles office is organizing people. We have about 4 cities, San Diego, in California. We need to get more. Let's go to Pam. the activist extraordinaire in Chicago, Illinois. Pam, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Can you hear me?
I do hear you, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for all that you do. Like I say, and the sacrifice you and your family made and still continue to make in order just to fight for freedom. We're still, of course, mourning Reverend Jackson. And it just seems to me that we would do all that we possibly could to fight. If we said that we love Reverend Jackson, if we state we love him, then we'll fight, because everything that this adjudicated sexual abuser is doing is an assault and an affront to all what every civil rights leader and anybody, advocate, has just done. So I turned back and forth to from the State of the Union, only because, sometimes I hear things that other people don't hear, and I just wanted to really just have a good notion of what was going to be said, and I'm not surprised about the lies that were told. So first, Reverend Sharpton, let me ask people 202-224-3121. That's the Capitol switchboard.
Right.
Please call, and first of all, show your support for Representative Al Green, because I was so proud of him. Show your support. State your case as to why the Democratic elected officials need to fight and fight hard. Also, call and state your opposition to these racist Republicans. That's important. For me, Reverend Sharpton, I want ICE abolished, and this is Pam's opinion, but I also want the Republican Party abolished. When they stood up and clapped, as he said, "Oh, I've ended DEI," all of them stood up and clapped. And so I'm saying he ended DEI. That's what he thinks. We need to end him. And I mean end him politically and end all of the harm he is causing. He is such a hateful person, and that is exhibited in everything he does. It's in the core of him, and that's why we're having to fight back. Also in the State of the Union, talking about voter fraud. We know that that's a lie. That is a bald-faced lie, and he knows that. But then, he'll tell the lie at the union. Said nothing about how he was going to make lives better. Lied about health care. Because the Republican Party and the adjudicated sexual abuser, they eliminated it. And we're still fighting for it. Said nothing about the people who were killed by ICE. And then I felt so badly for Representative Omar, who had to sit there and listen to the filth that came out of his mouth about Somalis.
Mm-hmm.
He has got to be stopped. But more importantly, Reverend Sharpton, the report today is that there were Epstein files missing.
Right.
Specifically, files. It was reported first on NPR, but then MS Now picked it up. Of mainstream media, I guess they're afraid. Files specifically referencing accusations made against the adjudicated sexual abuser.
Yes.
We have an alleged, because I don't want to get you in trouble. I believe the probability that he committed sexual assault against a little girl, I believe there's a high probability. And the proof is there, the evidence is there, but the FBI never investigated.
It was an allegation made by a woman saying that he engaged in sexual behavior with her when she was 13 years old. By name, she said it. Now, again, there's been no investigation. There's been no finding one way or another. But why did they eliminate that from being released is the real question.
Exactly, because these are the Trump-Epstein files. And also, Reverend Sharpton, I've got to say this. There reportedly were victims as young as 9, 10 years old.
Right.
And so I explained that I read the entire book of Virginia Giuffre. As a matter of fact, her brother was there with his wife, as well as some of the other victims and survivors.
Right.
They were there at the State of the Union. They said, we're going to be seen, we're going to be heard. In her book, she talked about Maxwell and Epstein being sadistic, and that he was a very just brutal man. Now, I said that to say, so 9 10-year-olds reportedly they recruited. He had all kinds of contraptions in his estate and in his other properties. One was a dental chair, Reverend Sharpton. And I want people to hear me clearly, especially those who supported this madman in the White House. There were contraptions in his homes on the properties. One was a dental chair. The use of that dental chair was to extract teeth.
Hold 1 minute. We'll hold you over because I want you to finish this. Very important. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they're going to investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're going to investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed them. All right, let me tell you where, if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the vice for all of them because you've got the power of the gavel. Wonder why nobody has asked Pence how he felt running for his life January 6th. Well, if you get the Judiciary Committee, you can subpoena Pence.
This is a defining moment. As our world faces urgent challenges, the movement comes together. National Action Network's 35th anniversary and convention, April 8th through the 11th. Leaders, activists, and community voices united for justice and change. The moment is now. Be in the
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, you know, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
So we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We were cool. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
two people that most influenced my life are from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James. Yeah. Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came to me in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, National Action Network. He just came in here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice. So I know I can leave here feeling like I got
am your
peace.
host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go to the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Vivian Denise is on the message board saying, thanks, Reverend Al, for all you do from Dothan, Alabama. You know I'm going to read what you write from Dothan, Alabama. My mother grew up in Dothan, Alabama, and Abbeville. She's buried there now, so I have a real kinship. In fact, I have a sister that's still living in Dothan right now. Thank you for listening. Tell everybody in Dothan they should listen. Diva Michelle Kennedy. Good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. Thanks for keeping it real. Your listeners not surprised of the speech comments made last night. Thanks for keeping us informed. We have to stay ahead of the curve. Keep it real. I love it. You're exactly right. Let me go back to Pam on the phone. Pam in Chicago, go ahead.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you for holding me over, and I'm going to wrap it up. So I just left off saying that in Virginia Dufresne's book, she talked about Maxwell and Epstein being brutal, being in torture, and sadistic. Now, I said...
for you that don't know, she's referring to the young lady who was one of the victims who killed herself, who committed suicide over this.
Yes. And had been trafficked, I think, at one of the longest periods. But she also named some names. But I recommend that people get the book. And don't just peruse through it, read it. It can be a difficult read because she had a difficult childhood. She had sexual abuse as young as I think she said 6 or 7. It's hard, but it's necessary so you'll understand what's going on now, because everything she put in that book, I can relate it and reference to things I'm hearing. So let me just quickly get back. So Epstein had many contraptions in his home. There are emails that people respond to him about torture videos. So that lets you know that, for me, that's enough evidence right there. So in his home, he had a dental chair. Now, Reverend Sharpton, you had victims as young as 9 and 10, and I'm going to try to be delicate with this. So they were performing dental procedures to extract the teeth of young victims.
Wow.
So the young victims could perform, I'll put certain acts, and you all know what I'm saying.
Wow.
On men.
Wow.
Now think about this. In one of the reports against the adjudicated sexual abuser, the, I think, 13-year-old said she accidentally bit him and he punched her.
Wow.
So do you see how bits and pieces are just coming together? And we can't get at the truth because the Republicans are hiding this. Lastly, Andrew over in the UK, he is kneeling over somebody's lifeless body.
Right. Yeah,
Reverend
the
Sharpton,
picture's been put on national television of him kneeling over
Yes.
somebody's lifeless body. Formerly Prince Andrew, that they just arrested last week.
Thank you. Now the next question was she dead? Was she hurt? Was she dead? Do we know? Do we care?
Yeah.
So, I just wanted the people to get a grasp of what we're dealing with, because it's insidious, it's horrible. And lastly, I'm going to ask this, Reverend Sharpton, to the Democratic Party. You need to search within yourselves, and you need to eradicate anybody who had anything to do with Epstein, any donors, I don't care, any operatives, strategists, elected officials. I'm just saying, purge yourself. If you know that you were somehow involved with Epstein, do us a favor and purge yourself from the party, because we need to lay the hammer down on these Republicans who are protecting sexual pedophiles. This is disturbing. This is disgraceful. And so that's what I'm asking us to do. And for me, the Republican Party needs to be abolished, disbanded, whatever you need to do. And I need elected officials, Democrats, to stop bragging about you have colleagues across the aisle that you work with. Stop that nonsense. Because this is, you heard them when he said he ended DEI. We have to stop playing nice. I'm not saying be out of order, because I understand decorum, but you've got to say what you need to say, and we needed a stronger response to the State of the Union. Abigail Spanberger did not do it for me.
All right.
And so I'm saying all elected officials, we've got to stand up, and we have to understand about what's coming out of this White House, this child predator, sex predators ring. And we've got to be serious about getting all of the files out, Reverend Sharpton.
All right. Always good to hear your voice and your counsel, and you're right on target as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to Kerry in Champaign, Illinois. Let's stay in Illinois. Go ahead, Kerry.
Good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton.
Good afternoon.
The thing that I heard during that speech was like it was just a dystopian future. Because, for one, when you listen to Kamala Harris, she explained that her plan and what she's going to lay out for child credit cuts, for families, for housing, a future that America can understand, for people that can she was going to help bring in jobs. All I heard this man was nothing but hate, pain, and just destroy this country. Because, for one, the one thing I noticed about Donald Trump is this: he's the greatest con man ever lived. And the people that get me that, when I listen to your show and I hear people trying to normalize him and say, it was something about he's going to give out $1,000 and you can invest into this. Why would I want to invest with a criminal, a con man, a man that can't do anything for your future? And for one, and this is another thing, is that the dollar has dropped 9%. He's killing the dollar. Those taxes are just taking us down a road that it's going to be a while just to recover. But people are going to have to get together, vote against this man, take this man down, because he's taking us down. And like Pam said, I agree everything with what she said about that 13-year-old girl. He did do those things. Those things are true. I read that. And I read a lot of other things that Trump did and Litnick and all the people in his cabinet who he's with. Epstein knows each and every one of those individuals. And Ghislaine Maxwell said she knows all those guys. He knows them all. And this man the thing that really makes me so upset about it is that you get people trying to normalize this and get on there and say he can do this, he can do that, or if we put this money in there, he'll do this. That's all a con. And if you never seen a con, I don't know where you live, but the future is really bright when he's gone, because that light isn't going to let this is not sustainable. He's not going to be there forever. But the problem is the Democrats are going to have to not play the nice game. Play the game of changing this country, because we can't let this happen again. We're going to have to change the laws for whoever gets into office, that a president can't do this, or a politician on any side of the aisle won't be able to manipulate the public like this man did in just this short of time. He took 10 years to about 11 years to lay out a plan to destroy this country, and then there's people who act like this is normal. This is not normal. We're going to win this. I'm going to do everything I can, and I hope people don't believe him. Your dollar, you're losing the dollar. The dollar has lost 9%, and he's crushing our economy. But he can't crush our spirit. Thank you, Reverend Sharp.
I think as they're passing me notes, let me go to that on the next break. Let's go back to the phones. Let me go to Ira.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break.
Let's take the break. I'm going to read these notes. They're giving me some new information that you may want to hear. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I help formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. Robert Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robert Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I lived it. I was there.
You true to this?
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Vote to phone true.
He was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist.
Okay, wow.
Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Just us.
Just us.
But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be an educator, but I am somebody. Black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody.
Come today. I see the Reverend Jesse Jackson is here. Lord, we thank you for the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I see the Honorable Maxine Waters is here. We thank you for Maxine Waters. You see the Reverend Sharpton is here. We thank you.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jeff Memorial, and one memorial shop. And we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net. And I believe that we can get in as many as we can. Let me go to our phone line. Let's go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD. Disco Brian, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Delighted to be here, Rev. The names that Epstein's best friend refused to speak last night are the names that loom largest: Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and of course, the thousands of names of survivors and victims of Epstein's diabolical web, which the verbal vomiter last night was a central ringleader in. So I want to again echo Pam and honor Representative Al Green's defiance. I am hoping that this time, unlike last year, not one Democrat in the House will vote to censure him for his boldness, his bravery, and his necessary good trouble. And Rev, the only thing we should be doing is unifying, and as you say, organizing. I am so looking forward to being at the NAN convention in April against this MAGA nightmare. But Rev, I am deeply concerned, as I know you are, about how we do that. Because here's the thing, Rev. The I've Had It podcast is massive. It's hosted by 2 white women from Oklahoma. They have 1 million followers, and they claim to be on our side. They are part of the Pod Save America franchise, which you probably know was founded by 3 of Obama's former speechwriters. And the main host, a woman named Jennifer Welch, has become a regular panelist on MS Now and CNN. Rev, yesterday, Jennifer praised the candidate running the House in Illinois' 9th District for one reason, And that was that candidate's commitment, should she win the primary, to do this, Rev, to replace Hakeem Jeffries as leader of the Democratic Party. So Reverend Sharpton, as the leader of the civil rights movement, according to Coretta Scott King, I want to know, I want you to say it very clearly. What is your message for any prominent pro-democracy influencer who claims to be anti-racist, who claims to use their platform for justice and democracy, and who's calling for the House Democrats to abandon and replace Leader Jeffries? Thank you, Rev.
Thank you for your call. Well, let me answer you forthright. Let me say this. I think that we have been intimidated by those that make the loudest noise but have the most shallow points that they're making. It is time, one of the reasons that I like Disco Brian is it's time for us to, yes, unite, but you can't have unity without being very clear on where the boundaries are. You can't tell me to support you, but you're going to take down people like Hakeem Jeffries and all because you have some problems with them. Whatever minor problems we have, and I call them minor because they're minor in face of the fact that we're facing a president that wants to instill and protect straight out fascism. So if you're running for office is to vote against Hakeem, not to vote against the policies that would end DEI, not to vote against voter suppression, not to vote against Affordable Care Act being suspended, but to take down Hakeem, then you're not on our side. And I think that people need to say that. That's one of the reasons I want everybody at the convention, and I'm inviting all the presidential candidates, everybody else, so you can hear what they have to say, and I'm going to question them. Because you can't say we all on the same side, but you're going to knock out half the team that's leading our side. Now, I may not agree with everything somebody says, but I know them better than I know you. I know Hakeem. Hakeem been around, joined National Action Network in his 20s, a lawyer. If I got a problem or disagreement with Hakeem, I can call him. He's available to his constituents. But I don't even know this person you're talking about. So to take that position, to me, is counteroffensive. And I have to think, Brian, that these people know they're being counter an offense move. So either they are deliberately sabotaging or they don't care. And either way, they need to be called out. I tell everybody, whether they call themselves conservative or progressive, take your best shot at me. Please take your best shot. And the reason I want you to take your best shot, because I'm coming back with mine. Some of the people that are in certain positions are scared. I like a good fight. I have no problem fighting. I've been fighting 50, 60 years. I'll fight a progressive or a regressive if it gets in the way of my rights and the rights of mine. So take your best shot, because I like to fight phonies. I wake up in the morning and hit the pillow. I'm so ready for a fight. I smack the pillow. They had to smack me back. So you're used to dealing with people that do not believe in what they're doing. So you take whatever shot you want. So don't take a shot at Hakeem. Take it at me. And let's go to the mat. And let's see who wins. And I'm not arrogant enough to think I'm going to win every fight. But I am going to tell you, you may win the fight, but they're going to have to wake you up on the ambulance and tell you what happened. You're going to know you was in a fight. And I think the problem we have, Brian, is too many of us won't fight back. Hakeem has stood up on every one of these hard issues against Trump, which is why Trump denounces him. Why would we help Trump denounce Hakeem? He said last week, Hakeem, low IQ and all. And you going to help undergird that with an attack? No, I'm not going for it. Thank you for your call. Let me go to Ira in Washington, D.C. Ira, hold on a minute, Ira. Let's take the break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid.
Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. The Urban Action Network. I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up where it matters most. Presidents, world leaders, and global change makers have all testified to Reverend Al Sharpton's impact and National Action Network legacy of good trouble in the fight for equality. This holiday season, our commitment grows even stronger. We're expanding food distributions, toy drives, and direct support for families who need us now more than ever. Stop right now and join the movement.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first, and we'll be last. We know who we are.
It's been a long time coming, but I know.
1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
Because I have a dream today.
They can't kill the dreamer.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Let me remind you, and you hopefully will remind others to make sure they watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday, particularly this Saturday and Sunday, because we are going to have on some of the governors and senators to really confront them on what Trump said in his State of the Union address last night, and to say what they can specifically do to salvage us from that, to save us from that. I don't want a whole lot of academic analysis and all of that. I got that. Y'all smart. Now what you going to do about it? How do we stop this? Both nights, I'm going to have on some of our leading governors and senators and those that are in position to stop this freight train that's coming. So make sure you watch it both nights, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. MS Now. You that are in the New York area, Connecticut area, New Jersey area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally. We are temporarily for Black History Month at Mother AME Zion Church, a historic church, church where Frederick Douglass spoke, church where Sojourner Truth went to the altar and gave up her slave name and named herself Sojourner Truth. Church where Paul Robeson was a member. His brother was one of the pastors. So on that historic ground is where we're having the Saturday Action Rally, the 100th anniversary of Black History Month. Meet us there 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'll be looking for you. In Harlem, 137th Street, 137, between Lenox and 7th Avenue. You that are not in the New York area and can't get here, you can watch it live on Impact Television or on YouTube/NAN, N-A-N, YouTube/NAN, or at nationalactionnetwork.net. And we had, like I said, collectively, my media team tells me we had collectively over 140,000 viewers last Saturday. Let's run that number even up further. We need to get the information. And we had hundreds there at the rally in person. There is no excuse for you not to be involved at least once a week. Yeah, you know, I just get busy. Busy doing what? They're taking away our rights. They're taking away our being able to afford the cost of living. And you too busy to put in an hour of getting information and getting instruction. All right, let's go to Ira in Washington, D.C. Ira.
Hey, good evening, Brother Sharpton. Thanks for taking my call. I just got a couple of quick things that's important. First of all, I'm not going to acknowledge the state of MAGA bun kissers of last night. That's a given, so we're not even going to talk about them. But what I do have that's very kind of important in the sense, I read an article about a detention center in Georgia. It allegedly cost $128 million, which I fact-checked, and it's just about 7 football fields long. And it's intended for anti-Trump and immigrants and anybody who disagrees with him or anybody they can snatch up. And the kicker is this. Those detention centers are having built-in incinerators, biohazard incinerators. And what that really says, is they're saying is, and outside people saying, is that if somebody get killed there, somebody that they don't agree with or something happened to them, they can eliminate the evidence right there on the scene because this is a biohazard incinerator that they're putting on these buildings, on these lots and stuff. And it's kind of like a catch-22, and I can see how that's going to go. Half the people are not leaving like they say. They said they're sending some folks out on the airplane. They said that they took them out halfway in the water and brought them right back to the same place they left. They never went. That's a lot of money to be spent sending somebody to another country. I don't think they got that kind of money. So it's a lot of stuff that we don't know behind the scenes that we might have to look at. And my last thing before I get into this is this thing I saw for Latinos with Trump. What it is, they're the fake MAGA that are separate with the black fake MAGAs. And what they do is they use them as a pawn in the game, and half of them got deported. I read a book that they got called The Detectives by Paolo Ramos. She's a Hispanic. You read that book, it'll tell you the whole story about how those Latinos for Trump got duped. And I just wanted to just use that and let you know that that's what I found out. And the last thing I got to say, the Department of Homeland Security website, if you look it up, when you get the first or the intro on it, it's going to have 4 people on there. 2 whites and 2 some type of folks. They're not Hispanic or Latino, but they're a darker skinned white person. And this is how they dupe those guys into that Homeland Security in that advertisement. So that's my little talk for today, and I'll get back with you tomorrow about something else that's important.
All right, thank you, Ira. And I see on our message board, Forensic Accountant 259 saying, breaking news, FBI raids home of the superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District. And I looked it up, and she's correct. They've served, executed federal search warrants at the home of the superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, in San Pedro, California. It's an ongoing investigation, and the warrants were sealed. I don't know what they're looking for targeting. I know that they've been given a real scathing kind of treatment to Mayor Karen Bass, who they still mad at her that she was in Africa when the wildfires broke out, got back as soon as she could. I guess she doesn't have access to private planes like some of them in the Trump administration. Then Caruso, the billionaire that had ran against her the first time, announced he wasn't running. He pulled out. So it looked like she had no real opposition with Caruso out. And despite the fact that the press and others have been trying to really jump all over her. And then somebody, one of her supporters, who's supposed to be progressive, announced at the last minute they're running. Now we get all of this. So I'm monitoring L.A. We have an office in L.A., Reverend Mosley and Aisha Kaur. So we're monitoring what is going on in L.A. All right, let me go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray at the Buzz in Cincinnati. Are you there, Ray? I don't hear Ray.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear
Can
you
hear
now.
me okay?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. A couple of things. I saw that State of the Union address, and it was what I expected. I expected a bunch of lies and half-truths, well, pretty much all lies. And it sounded like a rally, a MAGA rally, nothing more and nothing less. And so you said something earlier about, hey, don't blame Trump. It's the people that around him that's giving him this power, which it is. They're giving him this power. Well, I don't know. What I saw last night is every time he took a pause, it's almost like he told them, when I take a pause, you clap. If he had told them he had to poop, they would all stood at the same time and started clapping. They're just like puppets on a string. And when it comes to the Epstein files, and I watched Nicole Wallace's show last night, yesterday, and then there were some files missing. I'm like, well, if there are some files missing, somebody had to take those files. Somebody had to, transcribe them.
Exactly.
Get them in a congressional hearing and let them say it.
But see, hold right there, Ray. That is why it is important that the Democrats, under Hakeem Jeffries, going back to Disco Bryan's point, takes the majority, because they cannot bring them in a hearing if they are not controlling the committees. If you are the chair of the committee, you have the gavel. You can say, all right, I'm calling a hearing on the files that were missing, and we're issuing subpoenas on everybody that is connected or should have some connection or knowledge. Without the majority, you can go to the chairman of judiciary, the chairman of whatever committee would be appropriate, and they could say, let me think about it, and never act because you don't have the gavel. That's why we got to turn these midterm elections upside down.
Yeah, and another thing, these Trump's cabinet, they know what's in the files. You think they're staying quiet for the good, out of the goodness of their heart? I think they're being paid off by Trump. How's a bunch of Ivy League people got all this information, deadly information on a lot of people, and they're just staying quiet out of the goodness of their heart? I think they've been paid off. I wouldn't be surprised. That sounds like some Trump, Elon Musk, them would do, because they have billions of dollars, And when it came to that he said, he ended DEI. I was hoping that the camera would look at some Republican black, in the House and in the Senate, just to see what their reaction were, and they didn't show them. We got to vote. We got to vote. If people think that the Supreme Court went against Trump on the what was it, last week on the tariffs. At some point, they're going to throw him a bone. Don't know what it's going to be, but they're going to throw him a bone, and hope it's not on the civil rights, or the voting rights issue.
Yeah. That's why I'm telling everybody, Ray, don't exhale too quick. I'm glad what they did with the tariffs, but don't think that they may not do exactly what you say. And we've got to be prepared. And again, even if they take out Section 2, which ends it, we just got to be able to organize, mobilize, because how we got voter rights in the first place. We got to be ready to go to the mat and fight back, not say, wow, they got everything. Well, they do temporarily. But we're the children of the people that got voting rights in the first place. And we'll get it again if we have to.
Thanks, Rev.
All right, thank you for your call. Let me go to break, and I'll take the rest of your callers. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
For all, and one that would make him so proud. May you rest in peace.
Thank you. Let us now welcome the Nan Change Choir under the direction of our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson.
Pass me not, oh gentle Savior. Hear my humble cry. While on others thou art calling, do not pass me by. Do not pass me by. Savior, woo, Savior, hear my humble cry. While on others thou art calling, do not pass me by.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to National Action Network Live on 107.5 WBLS. Let us now welcome our president and founder, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it? Shake hands with the person next to you. Tell them you love them.
And never giving my chance of God. These days down with them. Troubles and trials won't last always. We're not on our side, nothing but holiday. Oh, the chance will come. Starting with you, your chance will come. Your chance will come. Starting with you, your chance will come.
was saying back in the office in the back to some of us gathering that I remember in 1972, a black woman from Brooklyn ran for president of the United States. Her name was Shirley Chisholm. And I remember riding around with Miss C and Ada Smith and Victor Robles, and I wasn't even old enough to vote yet. I was 17 going on 18. And when I turned 18, it was the first year they let 18-year-olds vote. And they said this one was crazy thinking about running for president. But she ran unbought and unbossed. And 10, 20 years later, from 72 to 84, Reverend Jackson ran. And they said that was ridiculous. And then 20 years after that, Barack Obama became president. The struggle is not an overnight win. The struggle goes to those that keep fighting, that look at defeat and say, I'm gonna keep on anyhow. And we come in the name of Jesse Louis Jackson to say that if you hold on, your change will come.
Will come. Your change. Is gonna come. Just keep the fight. Your change. I know it will. Your change. Is gonna come. Change will. Change will come. Change will come. Change will come.
Several years ago, 5 young men were put in jail for something they didn't do, coerced into a confession. One of their mothers called me and said my son didn't do it. We went down and stood with them. Wasn't many of us. Some of us didn't even get along, but we agreed on that. Bill Perkins, Lambe Brath, all us down there marched for those boys. People castigated us. But we stood by those boys. There was a businessman in New York, never opened his mouth about Howard Beach. When Michael Griffith was killed in Howard Beach, which was the next neighborhood to Jamaica Estates where this businessman grew up, never opened his mouth. Never said nothing about Yusef Hawkins in Bensonhurst, where they threw eggs at us and watermelons. Man stabbed me one Saturday morning leading the march. They never said a word. But he took ads out in the newspaper saying, bring back the death penalty to execute these 5 young men. But every Saturday morning I walk out in the Saturday rally and I look at the front row and seen them young men have been exonerated. 2 of them here this morning. Know that even when it looks dark, raise your hand, Kari Weiss, Yusef Salaam. If you hold on, if you hold out, that's right. The race isn't given to the swift, nor to the strong, but to those that can endure to the end. Hold on, your change will come. National Action Network Change Choir, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally, and for you that are here live at Mother AME Zion Church, and for you that are listening live on WBLS 107.5 in New York, you that are watching us on Impact Television worldwide, and you that are watching on nationalactionnetwork.net or on YouTube/NAN. We're happy to be with you another Saturday to give our report on where the action is. And this week is a special memory, I don't like to say memorial, for our patron saint, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Last time Reverend Jackson spoke in New York, he spoke at Nan. One Saturday morning, some of you were there. We had to help him on the stage. And it is appropriate that we do this memorial today. We're going to hear from some that have their view, and I'm certainly grateful for you that have already spoken, our public advocate, Jemani Williams, and our city council president,
Keeping it real.
And our congressman. Yes,
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, or go to the message board, and you can write a message, and I'll read it across the airwaves. More Faith is on the message board saying, amen to that, your change will come. She was watching in the commercials we play on the live stream, some of the Saturday rallies and other things. And our theme song on Saturday morning is, before I give my address, is Your Change Will Come. Bruce Turner saying, when hope runs out, lean on faith. I preach that all over the world. I believe in Reverend Jackson was my mentor, said keep hope alive, but there's sometimes hope will run out. Faith will kick in. And I'm glad I got 2 gears on my motor. I can go to that faith gear and keep on going. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Germany to Rick. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Who that again?
Rick in Germany.
Good day, Brother Sharpton.
Good day to you.
I forgot what I wanted to talk about, so I told your call checker that I would talk about Trump's speech last night. And what stood out to me was he said he kept his promise to drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, he did.
Meaning opening up the oil business to America from Venezuela and other places. Well, that means we're going to burn fossil fuels. And that means, scientifically, the physics, that the atmosphere will change. And if the atmosphere changes, there's a chance that humanity could disappear. Trump soon will be gone, but also soon the planet is going to shake itself. I think those poor people who say voting doesn't matter, you breathe air. For the moment, air is free, but the wealthy may soon put a price on air if you don't choose who you put in office. Brother man, I'm done.
All right, thank you. And that's a very important point where clearly Rick is right. Trump bragged about drill, baby, drill, and totally ignoring the environmentalists and others that are talking about these drilling and what it means. Yes, we need to do some things with industry, but not at the expense of our health and not at the expense of the actual earth. And I think that very important he raised that. Thank you, Rick. Let me go to Tony in New York City. Tony? Is Tony there?
Yeah, hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I want to talk about that thing Donald Trump had last night, State of the Union.
And one thing was on that State of the Union that why the Democrats didn't stand up for the victims of what the migrants did to the victims? Why the Democrats didn't stand up and support that?
Support.
That shows
Wait a
that
minute. Support who?
Democrats not supporting to protect
Wait a
the
minute. Wait a
American
minute.
people.
I asked you to clarify your question. Why didn't the Democrats stand up and do what?
Why the Democrats did not stand up for them victims of the migrants that had killed the victims? Why did Democrats didn't stand
Well,
up for that?
first of all, what Democrats spoke last night?
What's for the Democrats?
What Democrats spoke last night? You said you heard Trump speak. Trump did the State of the Union. Democrats didn't do that. So where was it? Where were they supposed to stand up at?
They're supposed to support that.
No, that is not what you said. You spoke about a speech, and then you act like the Democrats spoke as well. Democrats didn't speak last night. Trump spoke. Did Trump stand up there and raise the victims of people with immigrants, or did he just say he was going to keep the violent immigrants out? He didn't have one victim's family there last night. So what are you talking about? He was in charge. He was in charge last night. Democrats weren't in charge.
The Donald Trump administration and the Democrats should not get no vote for any black community out
If you want to vent against the Democrats, that's fine. But don't clutter your facts. Last night was the State of the Union by Donald Trump. He had the stage. He could have brought victims' families of who you're talking about. He could have done all of that. He did not. So don't blame people whose session it was not theirs. Now, you want to holler some more? Go ahead and holler. But it ain't going to mean nothing to me.
But you're going to cut me off. I'm trying to get my point across.
And I'm answering your point. You cannot make a point. You cannot make a point that is not factual and not let me.
Hoku out of office. We got to get Letitia James out of office. We got to get all the elected.
Okay, so now we've gone through the victim. We've gone from the victims of migrants. Let's go. You just having a fit on the radio, and I'm not going to facilitate that. You going from the victims of migrants, and what I challenged you about last night was obviously your guy, Trump's thing. Now you want to get Hochul out of office in New York and Trump and this one and that one and all of that, and you just screaming and hollering and all that. If you call and against the Democrats, you had the right to say that, but call and talk rationally and have facts. Because I'm not going to let you just say something that is not factual, and I'm not going to correct you on the show. I'm not going to do that. I have all kind of people call this show, but they don't act the fool. So calm down, take a deep breath, and call and make your point. Don in Cleveland. Don, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Here, young man.
Yes, sir. I like that. I am a young man.
Quickly, about all this, about having voter ID in order to vote, state ID in order to vote. So if I can't afford state ID, am I going to get it for free? I'm going to have to pay for it? Isn't that a violation of the Constitution that it doesn't say you have to pay in order to vote?
I think that is one interpretation of the Constitution. And you're correct. One of the reasons we fought voter ID before when it first came up is that many of us, many seniors and others don't have passports because they're not going anywhere. And many don't drive, so they don't have that. So what kind of ID are you talking about? Is it a cost, and who is going to be able to handle the cost? Who's going to incur the cost? You're absolutely right, Don. It's a good point.
And I think that we should start suing these states that's going to require that if they don't have it for free.
Right.
It's a violation of my constitutional rights. It doesn't. We're going back. Do you have to be a landlord in order to vote? Is that what they're trying to get back to now? I got 5
it's headed that way.
Kids in my household under 18, as 18 or older. They don't have a job, but they're still citizens. You're going to say that they don't have a right to vote?
Yeah. I love it. Thank you for your call.
Can you?
Let me go.
Where we can?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, you think of some way we could? I'm going to try to get a hold of Dr. Cavendish here to see if there's something we can do about getting the government down on Ohio to answer this question for us.
I think that's a good thing, Don. And Dr. Cavanis or either Marcia is our president there. And that I think that the pressure needs to be put on the governor. You're right. I think you're absolutely right. All right, thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you for your call. I see Andrew Montalbano is on our message board saying, the Democratic Party of violence and slavery and Jim Crow and lynching and Obama and abortion of black kids for over 75 years. Well, then, good. So if you are against the Democratic Party of violence and slavery and Jim Crow and lynching, so am I. And therefore, when the Democrats were taken over by those that were against that, and the Republicans started supporting those that would lynch us with all kinds of things from racial profiling, racial violence and all, then you ought to support the Democrats. So I'm not for the label, I'm for the action. So Anthony, I'm glad you're against that. So you've got to be against those now. It was when they erected a statue. Hear me clearly, Andrew. When they erected a statue in Virginia of Robert E. Lee and the Confederates who did all that you said to black folks, and people took it down, said you've got to take it down. They marched in Charlottesville, Virginia, where they were taking it down, and said, we will not surrender. And they marched through defending that statue. And Donald Trump called them good people. So I don't know what side you on, but if you are for what you say, you can't be on the side of those that do exactly what you say you're against. Still Bill in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Buzz. You're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
This is the Daily Lourdes man. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Good afternoon, Reverend.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I appreciate the fact that you put that caller before the last one in his place. He tried to justify what Trump was about, and then he tried to argue with you. And I appreciate the fact that you dissed him, as you always do with a lot of these Trump supporters. I want to send a shout out to Lincoln Ware and Terrence Howard, staff of the Buzz. And I kind of wish Mr. Ware was like you, where he just, about a minute or so or a second of their jump, that he just cut them off. But, you're going to argue with the fact that even a criminal has rights. And it's just ludicrous, but getting to the point, I heard about the State of the Union, and I didn't watch it. And you know why I didn't watch it? Because I agree with my brother Ray. It's just a pack of lies, a bunch of lies and justifications that this man continues to sell us. And these supporters, especially those that are on the Buzz, and they know who they are, and they support this man. And it's just ludicrous that they fail to realize that he's just simply trying to destroy this country. I mean, he's worried about the fact that he's going to be impeached again. He was impeached twice before, and look what happened. He's still in office, and it's just a thing where it's just chaos after chaos after chaos. It's fertilizing. But you know what? I'm going to cut it off. Keep up your good work of what you do, Reverend. And to Dominique, I'm still Bill, and I will keep it real.
I will tell her. I will tell her. Thank you for your call. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So
it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
Gotta get one. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had an Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades. I thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are, why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around.
who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Blacks. We don't want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they are literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did DEI, started in Harvard with a Black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, at ACP with the Defense Fund together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation, then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally have no excuse in the age of
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And you can also go to our message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. nationalactionnetwork.net. James Thomas is on the board saying, Rev, what's even worse about the Robert E. Lee statue, he's talking about Charlottesville, Virginia, is that Robert E. Lee lost the war in the South. And Tony and these idiots don't know that Trump and them are representing losers because they're losers. Well, James, you got a point. Now, Robert E. Lee was beat by the Union Army that reluctantly at the end brought in blacks, freed them in slave states, and blacks helped defeat the Union Army. And that is a fact. And the other thing that Tony needs to understand is that the president, when they had the Dred Scott decision that said blacks had no rights that anyone was bound to respect, Dred Scott had been a slave, went free, came back in a slave state, and they said, you're still a slave, and enslaved him. He sued all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the court came back and said, you have no rights. Blacks have no rights that anyone is bound to respect. The Chief Justice of that court at the time was a man named Roger Taney. Roger Taney was nominated and put in the court by Andrew Jackson, who was a Democrat, as you say, because Democrats were on that side. He was a Democrat. But the thing that confuses me, Tony, is that when Donald Trump moved into the White House the first time, when he won the election in 16 and moved in 17, first picture he hung up in the Oval Office was a picture of Andrew Jackson, his kind of president, that put this racist Supreme Court in, and a Democrat. He hung up a Republican. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. So he put up the Democrats you mad at, who later, in the times of Kennedy and Johnson, became pro-civil rights, and then the Republicans went anti-civil rights, led by the Republicans at that time. There was a president, a Republican president, named Richard Nixon, who hired as an Undersecretary of Labor a man named Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who wrote the philosophy and the policy for that administration, said deal with the question of race with benign neglect. Act like they not even there. Patrick Moynihan worked for Richard Nixon, and the Republican Party started dealing with benign neglect, don't handle black issues. And that's why when Nixon had to resign over Watergate, Jimmy Carter, Democrat, came in and picked up where Johnson and Kennedy had left off, saying we fight for the rights, and it went on from there. Reagan watering it down. So that's the facts. We not born Democrat or Republican. We born, those of us that are born black, and we got to go with whoever goes with us, as everybody else does in America. So I'm not wedded to no party, but I am wedded to who I am and who my loved one is. So don't get it twisted. The man hanging up racist Democrats in the White House is Donald Trump. Let's go to Leon in Dallas, Texas, 1-877-532-5797. Leon.
All right, there we go. The round just started, Reverend. When your bill goes off. Yeah, when you started your program, you mentioned you didn't want to hear a whole lot of completely belly aching. You wanted to hear some counterpunching strategies. And I thought of a counterpunching strategy. Do you remember what happened when Trump and Jimmy Kimmel got into it?
Yeah.
And they kicked Jimmy Kimmel off the air.
Yeah.
And you remember what happened?
People rose up and said they were not going to watch ABC.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we don't have to redesign, recreate the wheel. We the one that created it in the first place from Montgomery bus boycott situation.
Right.
So we can do the same thing, and we have to be prepared for the long haul, just like they were in Montgomery. We don't have to, get punched in the right from the right, punch from the left, then keep rolling back. No, we this is 2026, not 1926. And if you start something, if you don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. But if you start something, you're gonna get something. So it should be obvious. It should be obvious that after 400 years, some Americans don't get it. So we have to do what we have to do to make sure that people understand that we don't have to take it anymore. We're entitled to first-class citizenship. Full stop. So if we have to do like, what they did in Minneapolis, they had a boycott. And what they did with Jimmy Kimmel, we do the same thing. That's what we need to do. That's an action plan. And what we have to do is enact it, not just talk. We got to, do the work.
You can bet.
What say you?
You can bet your bottom dollar, Leon. That's exactly what we need to do. Thank you for your call, and that's exactly what we coming out of NAN convention with. We came out last year with we're gonna reward those that reward us. Costco stock went up, and we also did the march on Wall Street. We got some companies that we're pinpointing that we bought stock in. We're gonna roll it out at NAN's convention. You're right. We need solutions, not noise. Solutions. And we can't call for something we ain't gonna back up. These people be calling for stuff and you don't hear nothing and they're doing 50 other things. No, we need to be focused. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Be right back.
A young man who refers to the Reverend Jesse Jackson as his mentor, but who has been the mentor to so many people, a man who himself ran for president of the United States and who on a regular basis on MSNBC stands up for economic and social and racial justice, for saving the environment and for peace on this planet. Please welcome the remarkable Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Some of the ministers, even though I was a young minister, seemed like they were not connected to what was going on in the urban North. Jesse Jackson came from the South, but organized in Chicago and knew how to organize in urban centers. There would not have been a continuation of that movement had Jesse Jackson not bridged that gap and started fighting for collective economics at that time. Way before we started talking about corporate accountability, he was boycotting Fortune 500 companies, dealing with the economic policy, dealing with the exploitation of the poor. He became a national figure holding corporate America accountable. What people are doing now was started by Jesse Louis Jackson. But directly as they start the Democratic convention on tomorrow, let me just talk about his historic reshaping of the party. In 1983, he started saying a black should run for president. There was in 1972 the Gary, Indiana Convention, National Black Political Convention. There was the fights between the black nationalists and those that were in elective office. Reverend tried to bridge that. It led all the way to 83. He went around the country trying to get certain blacks to run. In the middle of him doing that, he started a Southern voting crusade. As he was on the bus going through Mississippi, through Louisiana, registering voters, people started saying, "You should run, Jesse." And we started to chant, "Run, Jesse, run." Most of the black elected officials didn't see it. He ran anyway. And he ran and won many of those primaries, and he put us on the agenda saying our time has come. But he did something that shifted the party and shifted history. And that is when he ran in 88. Not only did he win more delegates and win more states, he changed the rules of the party. This is what I come to say tonight. When Jesse Jackson from the 88 campaign changed the party from winner take all to proportional representation, let's not forget, before 88, if you got one vote more than your opponent in a primary, you got all of the delegates. Jesse Jackson changed the rules to where it didn't matter if you got more or not, you still got your share of delegates based on the vote you got. You cannot have a Democratic Party without democracy. There is no winner take all in democracy. By changing the rules in 88, we also got the first black chairman of the party, Ron Brown, who was a campaign manager for Jesse Jackson. He put blacks on the rules committee that kept those rules in place. So in 08, if there had not been proportional voting in the primaries, Hillary Clinton would have been the nominee. The reason Barack Obama could win the primaries and win the nomination is because the Rules Committee went on the Jackson proportional voting rules. As we come into 24, when Joe Biden decided not to run, and there were those that said, let's have an open convention. There were people on the Rules Committee, when Joe Manchin said he was thinking about running, they said, well, no, you can't run, because the rules won't let you run. Those people on the Rules Committee were put there by Jesse Lewis Jackson. The reason Kamala Harris is going to be nominated starts right in this building, starts right with this man. It has been a long journey, but the one that brought us this far was Jesse Lewis Jackson. It's a remarkable career to be born in the Deep South, in the back of the bus, and to grow into being a world figure that literally changed the political structures as we knew it. Put two of his sons in Congress. Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., who's a constitutional scholar, Jonathan Jackson now, reshaped the civil rights movement. What we're doing now with civil rights organizations, we learned at his feet. Let me end by saying there's some people that say that it's sad Reverend Jackson from Parkinson's can't walk like he used to and talk like he used to. But I want you to know that every time a black opens their mouth and talk about democracy, Jesse Jackson is talking. Every time we march, Jesse Jackson is walking. And when you see Kamala Harris get on that stage this week, Jesse Jackson is on that stage. He's sitting there watching the results of his work. There wouldn't be no us if it wasn't for him. Thank you, and God bless.
Keeping it real. You're live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. And you can go to the message board and write a message. We have a few minutes left. I'll read the message or take your call. And let me remind you, every Saturday and Sunday, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. I've been on the phone getting some of the governors and senators booked for the weekend so they can respond to how they will deal with what President Trump announced last night and how they're going to deal with how it relates directly to us in our communities. I certainly am going to have some heavy hitters on. Make sure you watch both nights, Saturday and Sunday. Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. MS Now. You that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut vicinity, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally. I will be there at the Mother AME Zion Church. We're there for Black History Month as we transition into our new headquarters. And make sure you're there 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'll be there looking for you. Mother AME Zion is on West 137th Street between 7th and Lenox Avenues. And we made some commitments last Saturday in memory of Reverend Jackson. We're going to follow it up this Saturday. Make sure you're in the house. And then you that have not signed up, I did not get today's numbers, but we were over 4,500 yesterday. I'm going to cut it off at 5,000. I know we've got, some people say we got 6 weeks, Reverend. I'm going to have to close it at 5,000 registers because we did over 10,000 last year and we ran out of space. I cannot let these youngsters coming from the HBCUs that we've toured and from our chapters not be seated. So if you want a guaranteed seat, they're all free. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be a part of the convention. And I guess as we get closer, I'll announce all the people coming, but you're going to want to be there. All right, let me, on the message board, let me go. I read somebody I wanted to read. All right, let me go to the phone then. Here it is. Joe Transchina, right? Stop calling Trump racist. He's not racist. Trump has done more for black people than Obama did. Okay, Joe, so then send me what he did. Obama gave us the Affordable Care Act, which disproportionately helped blacks with no health insurance. Obama did the policing commission, study on policing that I was a part of making sure we got done, which made it mandatory for police to have cameras, body cameras. Obama appointed the first black attorney general in history of the United States. Obama put money in HBCUs. I mean, I can go to the list just right up here since you sent the message, so you know how to do that. Tell me what Trump did for black folks. Omarosa, who was his black aide in his first term, that he fired, she said he's a racist. And that's the only black. I don't even know a black. Why you typing what he did? Tell me who's the black now in his second administration, like Omarosa was. Who is the black you call at the White House? I don't even know a black in the senior staff. So since you say he did all of this, type it, send it in. I'll read it. Type it right now. I got a few minutes. While you typing, let me go to Fred in Milwaukee. Fred, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, how are you doing, Reverend?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I just listened to you read that text. I hear that all the time. It's like, what did he do? Show me what he did, and they never can do that. But I called one, I guess, a little disappointing in the Democrat Party. I felt like the rebuttal for Trump, they should have had somebody more charismatic, more that would cross, all racial barriers. Jasmine Crockett, she would have gave a inspired speech, inspired a lot of people, but they tend to get a little conservative and worried about making waves. Regarding, reparations, I was trying to reach it the other day, and because I had this discussion with family members, when it comes to reparations and what we're going to get, because I guess whatever strategy there is, I mean, are we looking at where, when it comes to not just money, because that money will give it right back to people. Everybody got 25,000. Folks gonna buy a car, jewelry, stuff that is not gonna, generate wealth to their family things. So, are we looking at scholarships for college? Are we looking at interest-free loans for homes? Are we looking at, like you said, the 40 acres and a mule? So, it has to be a strategy, because whatever we do, they're going to do something to try to eliminate people where they're not eligible. Like when I hear, when they talk about this $1,000 for money, but, we have people struggling, trying to eat. We tend to forget about the middle and low class, people of the society. And, it's something that, okay, you give $1,000, but if they can't afford to put nothing in there, and then they don't have access to their money for 18 years, what are you going to do now, to help people, as far as that? Then even the last thing I'll say, even with FedEx is suing the government now because they want millions of dollars back from the tariffs.
Right.
Okay, but what about the American people? With the money we spent, and then the money we spent on, companies that raised their prices even though they weren't subject to tariffs. We're never going to get that money back. They milked us for money, and the consumer always pays. These companies not paying, but whatever they did pay, they're trying to get it back. I just want to say I appreciate you. I mean, and it's a loss for Reverend Jesse Jackson, but the young people inspire. And then last thing, regarding the gentleman that called ID, like I stated before, I would be willing to help pay for some people's ID because in Wisconsin, at one point you can get your ID for free.
Right.
We have a Democratic governor, and you just had to go to the, wherever you call it, the motor vehicle department or transportation department, and they offer free ID. So we have to be ready to fight on all fronts. And then, remember, I mean, I'm sure you did. I'm a little bit younger than you, but I was alive during Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm. And you remember George Wallace, the governor,
of Alabama.
One of the biggest races. He was a Southern Democrat.
Right, he was.
Changed his way as he got older, after he got shot.
Right.
But so they keep throwing up Republicans, but the parties tend to reverse as far as the course they took. So that's the only thing they can follow. You got to go over 100 years. Abraham Lincoln, the party of Lincoln.
Well, let me tell you how correct you are, Fred. The Strom Thurmond, whose family owned mine, by the way, but that's another story. Strom Thurmond was a Democrat and led the Southern Democrats. When Truman and them started dealing with integrating armed services, they left the Democratic Party and went Republican, and Republican did not turn them down. The Southern Dixiecrat left the Democratic Party.
Yeah. And can I ask you just one more thing? When you get a chance on your Politic Nation, ask, if you have congressmen or senators, are they doing an investigation as far as these people that are assigned to ICE? Because I know when I became on the police department, it took them about 6 months to do a background investigation. They talk to neighbors and everything. So the vetting process for these people, are they, any of them, were they parted from January 6th? Are any of them part of a mercenary group that they just signed on? And, there's been reports more and more coming out as the media starting to investigate them as far as their lack of training, how to deal with a urban community, how to deal with citizens and not violate their rights. So that's something they need to, like, okay, who are these people? And I never wore a mask in 25 years of law enforcement. I live in the same neighborhood that I grew up with. Okay, I arrested neighbors. I didn't have to wear a mask because I treated them with respect. You know, so all that mask, they're not hunting them. You know, you hiding because you want to hide your face because they're a bunch of cowards and don't know how to treat people.
Yeah, I think you're right. There needs to be much more stringent a vetting process, and I think that we need to do it. I think that needs to be legislated, and I think it needs to be monitored. I couldn't agree with you more. Because it's out of the headlines, we shouldn't forget 2 people died at the hands of these people, and there are no policy changes, and we have not seen these 2, the killers of these 2, even brought to justice, other than we're hearing that the feds won't cooperate with the state, Keith Ellison, or the state attorney general. That's outrageous. And we cannot let the country forget about that and not deal with legislation on ICE. You're right. I don't even know about the funerals for those 2. It's just not right. Thank you for your call. I got to go. That's the music. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.